What's up, everyone? This is John from Running Warehouse, and I'm here with Spencer Nell, Senior Director of Sports Marketing at Adidas. And we're here today to talk about the evolution of racing shoes and specifically the Adizero racing line. Spencer, the Adizero racing line has been a proven winner year after year. We continue to see it atop the podium, and we usually see it in the Adios Pro 3. However, let's go back to the beginning and talk about the early days of racing flats and something like the Adios line. Can you tell us about the racing flats of the Adios and really where Adidas started with the Adizero line?
Yeah, thank you. I think the initial thought process was, in discussions with athletes, they were talking about wanting shoes that were lighter. And I think, foams have transitioned now. Foams are so much lighter now than what they were. And in doing that, we were minimizing the actual stack height of the shoe and getting a lot of success with it. Mary Keitany won New York Marathon in the original Takumi, which is a third of the size of the current Takumi. But Mary could, because she was 40 odd kilograms, and she did that repeatedly. We had a shoe called the Sub 2, which Wilson Kipsang used at the Tokyo Marathon. Literally arrived, taken over by a pilot friend who helped us get the shoe over there. He put the shoe on the next day and he won Tokyo Marathon. So when you had such success with phenomenal athletes, it seemed that we were going in the right direction, the lowest sort of stack height shoe. Things roll forward, foams evolve, we start getting carbon plates in it. Carbon plates, people talk about carbon plates as they arrived in 2016. They didn't. We were testing carbon plates in shoes way back when, in 2006 with Hailey. But Hailey felt that the carbon plates were too hard for him. Now, we then moved away from the carbon plate, which was probably a mistake in hindsight. But at the time, we were getting feedback from one of the best athletes in the world ever. And so we then left out the carbon plate, but focused on, getting the athletes that shoe that was much lighter. Roll forward, we see lighter foams, we see carbon plates being reintroduced. We come up with our own rod structure, and then you see the evolution of our pinnacle range, which is that Adizero range. You see the evolution of the Pro 1 coming, and then the Pro 2, and then the Pro 3, and we continue to do really well with athletes winning on the podium. But what we've discovered is, in talking to athletes and finding that they need a range of shoes, which is what you've got here. You need shoes for different sessions. Now, if you're a pro athlete, of course, you're subjected to multiple shoes arriving in your bag, which you can then pull out and use for different sessions. Now, the Adios is one of those shoes which has been around and has evolved. But we found that there's an ever-increasing desire to have this type of shoe for some of those sessions. Twofold. Our track athletes are looking at this and saying they wanted a lower stack height shoe which they can use for drills on the track or on the grass. People think athletes on the track are constantly in spikes. They're not. They spend only a limited amount of time in spikes when they start doing blocks and they start doing speed sessions, etc. But this type of shoe is very popular with them. Why? Because it's a rather simplistic structure, and they can actually feel the track, etc. Roll forward, based on input from our athletes in Kenya, Ethiopia, and at the University of Washington, and NC State, and NAU, there was also a desire from their distance runners to have a shoe that they could almost feel the road with, have greater contact with. And that's where this has evolved, and this is a very, very popular shoe amongst both those track sprinters all the way through distance and then the actual road athletes. So that's where the evolution has been in this sort of area, and continues to be. And then if you then move to, we talked about the Takumi, we talked about what the Takumi was and what the Takumi has evolved into. This is probably an underrated shoe in my humble opinion. I think that it's not going to be long before we see athletes running and winning marathons in this shoe, in particular among the lighter distance runners. So I do think that the future of this shoe is underrated at this stage, and we're going to see more athletes doing wonderful things in the Takumi. And then, obviously, if you roll forward to some of the evolution where we've gone, you talk pinnacle shoes, and you talk about what's happened with the introduction of the Pro Evo 1 and where that's going. Had the privilege of being in testing in Kenya with this product in particular, and the reaction has just been amazing, because we talk about where are those areas of improvement. We spoke about that. It's still wanting improvement on weight. Often you're speaking with athletes, they still talk about weight, even with the advent of the super shoe. So what the Evo in particular, one of the greater areas of that was how much lighter it is. Now, if you've ever had a pair in your hands, you'll know what we're talking about. It is significantly lighter than anything else on the marketplace. And then, you've set a new benchmark. So then the Pro 4 has to evolve as well. It has to evolve into that area. So like the Takumi, I think you're going to have more athletes running in the Takumi, but I do think we're going to get parallel, we're going to get athletes that prefer the Pro 4 because of the weight loss on the Pro 4. You're going to enter into that area where you're going to have people preferring to run in the Pro 4 and others preferring to run in the Evo when they're running World Majors or World Champs or World Olympic Games.
Yeah, a couple interesting things you said. First, I want to ask, you think that, in your opinion, there may be some people who decide Takumi may be the marathon shoe for them. We see athletes continue to want the stacks as high as they possibly can in the legal sense for the world athletics and the lightest possible. So what is it about Takumi that you think would be beneficial for some athletes to actually take it the marathon distance?
Yeah, I think that there's not that much difference between the two. The stack height, I think, is around 13 mil difference. So yes, it's significant, but it's still a high stack shoe. I talked about some of the earlier products, which were, a third of the stack height that the current Takumi's at. So you've evolved from very low to that point as your kind of mid-range product, which is essentially a 10K half marathon shoe. But based on the fact that some athletes are that light, that they get every benefit and every area of support from that shoe, that they may just make that choice. So it's down to personal choice, but if you're running in a shoe that's got this much of a stack height, you're still running in shoes that traditionally that were lower, you're running in a shoe that's higher now. So I do think that that's where the evolution lies. It's down to personal choice, but I still think that, like I said, it's an underrated shoe that is going to get utilized more.
Lastly, you talked about the Adios Pro 4, and then some athletes may choose the Adios Pro Evo 1, which is proven to already be a record-breaking shoe. So in your opinion, what is it through the evolution that still allows athletes to not take a step backwards, but still, I guess, use shoes that consumers may think aren't going to be as technologically advanced as something like the Evo 1?
Yeah, like I said, multiple shoes in your bag. Different sessions require different products. The Supernova Rise is probably one of the best shoes in the marketplace right now. All our pros are absolute, and our collegiate athletes, etc., are raving about what that shoe brings. It's your go-to running shoe in many areas. It's very different, obviously, what's under the hood compared to some of these products. So that's a shoe that is going to get utilized more in sessions. Then you could be, then going to the next three and trying to understand what you do different sessions in. And that's what's happening. So different sessions, different shoes, and there lies the opportunity to make sure you're mixing it up instead of just utilizing one product to train in and race in. I strongly advise that you should be getting a couple more products and doing different things on different days.
Thanks, Spencer. It sounds like even though the brand is innovating and evolving, it doesn't mean you're leaving anything behind, and there's still great offerings from the Adios all the way up to the Adios Pro. So if you're looking to try any of the adizero racing shoes for yourself, you can find them here at Running Warehouse.